Boom, we are on. Okay, well, yesterday I live streamed and wound up deleting the stream video because it had like wacky audio stuff going on, and apparently the report from the ground is that it was like losing connection relatively consistently. So today we're going to work on two different shots. The first one is Akari, and the second one is Mr. Ninja. So the rough cut, this one was actually blocked out in Blender, and I deliberately gave myself kind of a hard job to do in that the pencil test, which I did in Blender, then I brought it into Krita for ink and paint, had a camera move in it. So that's definitely kind of asking for trouble, but what I was really testing was I'm quite happy with the way this turned out, okay? And I think what happened here is that I really didn't let the computer do anything for me, almost including like onion skins. Like if you turn the onion skins on, let's see here. This is her head. Yeah, you turn the onion skins on. Why they're not showing up here correctly, I don't know. It's a weird thing, by the way. The Krita docs that are out there right now say that they're based on 4.3, but 4.3 is not actually out yet. So even the pre-release stuff is calling itself alpha. So I'm not sure if there's like an update around the corner or what, but I'm still using 4.1.7 for most of my work because it's more performant than more recent versions. It's less stable, it does crash more often, but in any case, I was quite happy with the way this turned out, and what I did was, rather than using onion skins and rather than using, say, the liquify tool or really any computer tools to do any of the work for me, I literally just did a lot of like this, just toggling between. Okay, so yeah, I hate the way this happens. It must be because I'm in the wrong layer. Yes, I was gonna say that the computer starts acting funky the minute I actually start creating a video. But yeah, what I was doing was, in terms of drawing, I'm just like toggling between shots to see where the lines need to be. So now we're back in Krita for ink and paint, and I had a let me go ahead and take this and get rid of it, and here's the pencil test. We can get rid of that as well. So I had her body in there, and I'm going to take this version of her body and just delete it, mainly because I kind of drew it and then resized it again using the free transform tool and kind of letting the computer do the work for me. And it just something about it's not working. Now maybe I could get away with that on this shot just because I do like the pose better. It's really hard to put into words. It's got to do with the integrity, if you will, of the drawing itself. I think a good example of what I'm talking about would be look at Ed Tadeo's YouTube channel. He doesn't post very often, but when he does, and most of his work is done in Krita, and then he does his editing in HitFilm Express. But this guy, Ed, I think it's Tadeo. This guy creates animation that is very anime-ish in style, and he really just consistently does the hard work of just drawing every frame, frame by frame. So, and you wind up with a result, as you can see here in her head. Now, obviously, her body isn't scaling with her, so that's a little problematic. Let's go ahead and try using the free transform tool, just because in this case I think we can get away with it because her pose really needs to not change at all. her body just gets bigger. So now I need to do the same thing I was doing, which is, yeah, frankly, that's not quite big enough. And you just know it when it feels right. It's kind of just one of those things. Still bigger, I'd say. So, and this is kind of what I was doing, is just being more meticulous about making sure that every single frame the only way I can say it is has integrity as a standalone frame. I think too often I've said, well, you know, this is only going to be on the screen for one frame or whatever, and so it's not that there's not room for that, but to put it this way, more and more, the more this I do, the more I find out that the hard way is the easy way, and vice versa. The easy way is the hard way. I would say you see it, well, I guess we actually don't probably need to change the pose there. Oh, but we could. Slightly larger, but mainly just want to let the sword rise a bit. Let's just see. Yeah, that's not too bad. Couple tweaks I want to make. B key. No, yeah, I'm just making sure I can toggle between the pencil and the eraser. I'm going to go ahead and erase her shoulder because, again, you know, this is kind of what I'm talking about, making sure each drawing has integrity. There needs to be, I can feel this need to have a slight shift in her weight. As these frames progress. Yeah, so I'm actually letting her essentially turn a little bit there. Okay, that's not too bad. So, okay, yeah, and actually, I'm also going to erase her clavicle. So what I could do, obviously, is I could make a selection and just move that little line that represents her clavicle on every frame, but I don't want to do it that way. I want to just go through and make sure every frame feels right as a standalone drawing. So again, I would say if you're interested in this kind of thing and want to see it being done pretty well, I think that Ed Tadeo is doing some really nice work. And he's one of, I mean, I actually can't think of anybody else who is, you know, who's out there doing really credible animation with Krita. Okay, so I want to see a bit of the strain here in her neck. And now it's almost as if her head, there's kind of just a little something going on there with her neck muscles. It's very subtle what I'm trying to describe here. It's hard to actually describe. It's one of those I'll know it when I see it kind of things. But here I think her neck needs to go ahead and disappear behind the pigtail. So Let's rock and roll with that, and let's play it back. So you get this slightly looser feel, and then the question sort of becomes, well, what's going to make it look, you know, how would you take this from a production value standpoint, up, one more level, blah, blah, blah. And it seems to me that the answer has to do with two things. One would be, in the classic Disney movies, you just had more tweens, because the animation was not exclusively, but largely done on ones. See, so I'm going ahead and putting a turn here in the sword. Not much on the bottom here because, whoops. So this is what I've been doing a lot of. You know, so the hope would be, geez, if every line moves correctly from place to place, then presumably the whole animation will work. And I tend to find that that's exactly what happens. Okay. So now I did several tests. I'm not going to show you the ones that didn't work, but I did several tests with Ninja One's reaction to Akari's comment, which in this, I don't have the edit up right now, so I can't show you what the comment is, but I believe she says something that is disparaging to the ninjas. Okay, maybe we'll pull it up and have a look, shall we? Okay, let's do that. Blender 2.8. I'm frankly gonna probably move the whole. I'm gonna like reproduce the whole edit for this show in Vegas, because Blender is proving to be so non-performant. Even when I use image sequences, it's really kind of discouraging. This is a shot I did a couple days ago. Pretty happy with how that turned out as well. Yeah. You know, and here I definitely used the liquify tool a little bit, and it worked. Okay, so my boss wishes to see you. So he's got his hands up. Okay, he could have knocked instead of sending two clumsy oafs. So that's what she says here. Rewind. He could have knocked instead of sending two clumsy oafs like that. Obviously, we've got to put the lip sync in there. So now the question becomes, will this shot actually work? And let's take a look at what happens after. In other words, in isolation, I like this change in attitude. Grr. Because that's his next line. His next line is grr. So right now, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that I probably won't use this shot. I think this was a good exercise that I probably won't actually stick in the show at this point. If I was going to, I would add another layer, and let's just look at where his hands would have to be. I'm thinking hand number 1 would be here. Hand number 2 would be something like here. Okay, and he's got those wraps on his hands. So let's we'll go ahead and put in a key just in case we're going to want to move them. Yeah, and so now you got the same situation here. So what I'm going to do is hit Control-Shift-Insert, which for me causes us to show these in the timeline. And I'm just going to call this, obviously, hands. And now, again, the thought here is that I think what I'll do is I'll insert a key here. Yeah, okay. We'll give this a try. So on this frame. Let's just go back here a step. That would probably work. But then this is where probably this is not going to work, because I really probably need to redraw the hands. So yeah, on this frame, I'm going to just hit insert and then B key. And just for fun, I'm going to actually make this hand go higher. So what I'm trying to express here, it's quite difficult, is the idea that I want to look at this drawing now in isolation and make sure that it really feels like it's working as a standalone drawing. You know, I'm probably stating things here that are stupidly obvious to, you know, anybody who's not even an animator would go, well, yeah, dude, of course. What else would you want to do, you know? But when you have these software tools that ostensibly, you know, will speed up your work and let you get a better result quickly, blah, 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 without having to draw, you know, it's very seductive. And they do help in a lot of cases. Okay, that I think is working. So let's one more time. Okay, so this would be worth cutting into the show just to see if it's not too much of a jolt. But obviously he's in this pose a lot. Okay, we're using this pose a lot. So whether jolting the audience by having him switch here to a different pose, whether that's a good idea, I'm not sure. I think if I was going to do it again, I would probably want to have the sword in the shot. Okay, so now one thing that comes to mind that's interesting about this is in this shot, she goes like that. I wonder if we took this and right at the beginning on twos, we just kind of moved it up a little bit as if he's kind of being threatened by it. That's not too bad. I like that. Let's pause there. So what I was going to say is the two things that would make this take it up to the, you know, as I say, the Disney level. Not saying I'm as good as them or anything like that. I'm just saying if you want to take the quality of what I'm doing and just bring it up a notch. Number one, you'd be on ones with your tweens, and number two, you'd be very, very attentive to the quality of the ink lines. You know, if you compare 101 Dalmatians to, say, oh gosh, some of the stuff that was done later, you can criticize the films if you don't like the stories of the characters or whatever, like Atlantis. Like, for example, The Emperor's New Groove. I hate that movie. I don't like David Spade. Every character he's ever played, to me, is someone who's not likable, because of this tude that he sort of built his whole career on. You know, it's just, I've never seen anything with David Spade that I've liked. I find myself always disliking his characters, and he was the main character in that show. But the quality of the characterization and the animation in Emperor's New Groove and Atlantis is very, very, very good. And again, you compare that to when Disney was struggling financially in the 60s with 101 Dalmatians, I would say Robin Hood. They had to, their inking process went out the window. They quit inking cells. What they actually did was they developed a special copy machine that printed the pencil test onto a transparent cell, and then as time went by the time they got to the Rescuers, they had refined that process to where the toner in the copy machine was actually using sort of a gray tone instead of black, so the lines didn't look as harsh, and they kind of got the contrast and stuff dialed in better. So I think what was probably happening at that point in time is you had a situation where I think what was happening was the penciler is drawing a character. Let's just say I'll try to draw more of a less of an anime style character and more of a Disney style character here. So yeah, so what I'm commenting on here is what was going on at Disney back in the time of 101 Dalmatians. Okay, so I made this guy a little too big. Let's just shrink him down a bit. Okay. See, I'm making faces. This is what animators do when they're drawing characters. They sit and they make faces. All right, and then I'll just kind of do kind of a 60s or 70s kind of hairdo. Okay, so I think what must have been going on was they're using a fairly hard lead pencil. Okay, and then I think what probably happened with 101 Dalmatians is you get to the point where as the person doing the pencil test, you wanted to skip the ink stage. Basically, you're trying to save a whole step in the production process. So then you just kind of go in with your, I don't know if it's like an HB or I don't know, you know, like your, I'm guessing like 4B, maybe 4B pencil that's like really soft, and you just go in there. Oh, I don't like that line. Like so. Sometimes you'd have to be careful, right? Something like this. And honestly, in 101 Dalmatians, the lines were even more crude than this. I mean, it would be almost more like, well, actually, I'm using the pencil. If we made the pencil a little bigger, yeah, it would almost be more like this. You know, it was pretty bold, the lines in that movie. Okay, and then what you would do is when they would stick it in the copy machine, the effect you would get, I think, would be essentially like taking a color adjustment curve like this, and now you want to kick up the contrast, which darkens the black lines, and essentially make the sketch lines disappear. And you could get away with that because at the paint stage, obviously, there's no fill operation. Whoops. Because this is all digital. I mean, this is not digital. This is all analog. Yeah, and unfortunately, I shot myself in the foot here because I went ahead and drew this on white instead of transparent. So let's use multiply, maybe? Yeah, okay, so we'll use multiply. But, you know, you had to paint everything by hand on the back of the cell, right? So this works pretty well. The problem you're going to run into with multiply mode is if you lift up your stylus and make another line, it's going to multiply over that again, which is actually kind of useful if you want to do you know, shadows and kind of a two-tone situation, right? But now there's no way to keep painting here and bridge that gap right there unless you switch to normal mode and then just paint over it, right? So you can do it, but if I was actually in this situation in a real project, I would probably just do this. I would go like that and then try to do a fill operation and see, yeah, that all you need is one leak to ruin it. So but you guys get the idea. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of what was going on. And actually, another interesting thing about that period of time for Disney was they wanted to save time on their backgrounds as well. And so what they were doing was they would, this is just, I'm just going to kind of spitball here and come up with something quick. So let's just say I'm going to draw a house, you know, in the background. So I'll do this really fast. And just a kind of a ratty old house with a chimney, and we'll give it just kind of like a tan base color. So I'm going to make my brush really big so I can just do this in a hurry. So what they were doing was they were taking really bold areas of color, and then what they would do is they would actually just go over top of it with ink like this. So they would use the ink to put in the detail, and I suppose probably to some degree they probably used different colors. I'm going to really lighten that a lot, but you get the idea. So you wind up with this style where you sort of have ink lines overlaid over the these flat areas of color, and they were able to actually save a lot of time and money on the backgrounds as well. So that's kind of what was going on with 101 Dalmatians. You know, by contrast, again, if you want a more refined look, then you just have to spend more time really being careful with your ink and paint. This is not that. When I inked this, because I was really just trying to get the feel on the tweens, it consisted, like especially here, you see a lot of very short lines that are unconnected. So there's definitely a lot of leaks in the ink work. Okay, but that's okay. And again, you see that a lot in Ed Tadeo's work. Is so when he does the paint, what I've noticed with Ed is he'll go through, and I haven't really looked closely at his process, but what he tends to do is take a neutral color and literally go through everything and put a border around it like this. And if I remember correctly, he actually, I mean, he probably uses white normally, but he kind of fills everything in and then goes in and tightens up the color. But I mean, I think the salient point here is that he does a hand paint job around the perimeters so that things aren't going to leak, and then obviously you can use a normal fill operation more safely, right? So anyway, you know, as I said, what I'm finding is that the fast way is the slow way, and the slow way is the fast way. So if you take the time to really just toggle between your frames and just think about each drawing working, what I have found is you know, you would hope that means that when you hit the go button, it's going to look better. And what I think I'm finding is that is the case, and I'm happy to see that that's what's taking place. So, you know, I definitely like the feel there. So here, kind of have the same situation, but it hasn't been inked yet. So let's ink the darn thing, right? Let's see, this is just a white background, so I'll just go ahead and add a layer here and call it ink. And just for sort of completeness, I'll create a group, call it N1, because that's sort of my practice, is to put characters in groups. And ultimately, all of these layers are going to wind up getting deleted. Okay, so this is probably the pencil test. So this is, I'll call this N1 as well, because N1 sketch, let's say. Alright, and then what I want to do is just turn it down. Turn the hands down. Turn everything down that's not going to be, you know, I don't want it to distract me. So now I want to go ahead and match up my keys. So I'm going to go to the ink layer, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a key here, 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 here. Okay. I'm thinking that I'll probably do the hands separately in the ink as well, but yeah, I don't really need to. Because the keys do match. They are using all the same animation keys. I hope that makes sense. So now I'm going to take the old Dave pen and get busy here. Okay, do I want smoothing or not? I think yes. Let me check my options here. I'm going to give it a little more distance. Let me see how that feels. Okay. It'd be wonderful it was the correct color. Now for the Ninja, I think what I'll do is, if I go over here into sort of the rust range and then just come out about a third of the way or so, that seems to be, I always wind up tinting my ink lines. And actually, in the case of the Ninja, if I want to be consistent with the rest of the show, it really needs to be more of a charcoal. Let me look closely here. Yeah, you can see his. In fact, you know what? Let's just go ahead and take a screenshot of this because. So we'll call it Alt Print Screen. Come in here and just paste that in, and that'll be our color model. Cool beans. So now if I want to match this ink color, let's see. Yeah, I almost nailed it. I almost had it perfect, actually, it looks like. So because it's not a particularly dark color, I may find that I want to make these guys even lighter. Okay. So now I've put my my smoothing on. Let's see how this goes. Not too bad. Okay, don't like that. Okay, not too shabby. So what I'm doing in essence is I'm putting a little more smoothing on the ink lines because I'm trying to enforce, as I said, just a little bit more refinement in the quality of the ink lines. I'm not going to worry as much about gaps at this point. I'm going to assume that in order to get a look that I'm really happy with, I'm probably going to have to go in and manually do some hand painting, and that's perfectly fine. Probably want one line over on that side too. Okay. You can see I'm kind of working backwards here, actually. That ear. Cool. That feels pretty good. Okay. Now, actually, good example of where I've sort of shot myself in the foot in the past at times is that if I am going to put the hands on the same layer, then I need to stop the presses right now and finish drawing those hands. Okay? Now, I've sort of committed myself here to working backwards from the last key to the first key, by the way. Where that really comes into play would be, and by the way, I want to flip this. Yeah, okay, well, here's where, gosh, here's where a little bit of liquefy is not such a bad thing. Because really, you know, no big deal. That's where flipping the canvas is useful. Yeah. And I think it was just, and by the way, I think the reason that happened is maybe because, well, I was going to say that was the one spot when I did the pencil test where I used the liquefy tool. But actually, there's something else I want to fix here. I'm going to grab all of this. Okay, just want to center that. Okay, so now you do get a little bit of blurring going on. It's not always a bad thing. What I have found is that if I want to fix that, don't use sharpening. Use the unsharp mask, and then just in the default settings are very gentle, and then just kind of hit Control F a few times like that, and it kind of tightens it right back up. So you can actually get away with a lot more with the liquify tool if you sharpen afterwards, because you are going to soften up your ink lines every single time you use the liquify tool. Let's see how much. Yeah, you can see now that this has been sharpened. It's got a little bit more contrast on the edges. One thing that will be interesting to see that I didn't really think of before I did that is that Krita has a tendency to, well, let's test this. I'm going to solo this layer. Let's see what happens if we do a fill operation. Let's hit the fill tool. I'll just go ahead and turn the color key back on and sample that color. What I want to look at is how this fills. Okay, yeah, see, that's what I was worried about. You can see what happened. Now if I do it 2 or 3 times, it's gonna fill it in better. But what you find with Krita is that every time you do any filter operation, it really does corrupt your ink line layer because of the filter. Somehow the way Krita breaks the shot up into little squares of pixels, and you wind up, it really screws up your fill operations. Now in the case of an unsharp mask, you would expect that, because in point of fact, although it fools the eye, it's not only well, let's say it's not only darkening the lines, it's also lightening the area beside the lines. So it's actually kicking up the contrast at the edges between colors. That's what unsharp masking does. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I'm in behind mode. So if I just keep going, I can make it work, right? Now, in point of fact, I'm not going to do my, hold it, I can't do 2 things at the same time. Not going to do my filling on the same layer in behind mode. I will be putting the fills on a separate layer. So, alright, so let's not solo that layer. So what I said I needed to do, if I really want to maintain the integrity of my work, is I need to finish the freaking pencil test. Let's turn the smoothing off. We'll turn this up a little bit. Not too much. And then I guess this should be black. Okay. Now I probably can get away with only drawing this once. Let's see. Let's just rough it in. Rough in the positioning of the hand, or the fingers. Okay, taller finger, index finger, ring finger. Okay, so now we've got his wraps. Okay, is that alright? I think it is. Let's go over to this one. And we got fingertip, 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 fingertip. Rough in the spacing. Thumb. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Let's pull out and have a peek. Okay, hands. I'm just looking at how much they really didn't change much. So again, I should be able to ink those one time and then just go ahead and use the free transform tool, not the liquify tool, but just the regular free transform to just move them around. So with that in mind, it would be a lot smarter to put his hands on a separate layer, because I know I'm going to use the free transform tool to make some adjustments. So with that in mind, I'm going to sample my ink color, turn these guys back down again, way down. And okay, so now actually one thing that sort of comes up here would have to do with the smoothing. When I'm going for that more loose look, I'm finding I actually don't want to use smoothing that much. Now this is interesting. I really thought I sampled that color. And here, why does that look different? It must be, I think I know why. I think it's because I'm not using the ink pen. Oh, that's weird. How is that possible? How is that possible? Okay, I'm sampling white. Boom, there's my ink color. And on the ink layer, yep, that looks correct. When I go to the hands layer, okay, now it looks correct. Alright, so if you are watching this and you're seeing that I missed something obvious, go ahead and post it in the comments. Dave, you're a bonehead. So what I'm doing here is I'm not using the smoothing. I'm deliberately just using really sketchy short lines. Some of them I'll connect up like that, some of them I won't. But I gotta tell you, I do like the look. I like the way it looks when I do it this way. So, whatever. It's my anime, so I get to do whatever I want, right? Okay, so the hands obviously are going to be, the flesh tone is going to be one solid color, so I don't necessarily need to connect those things up, although it would probably be smart to close that and that, so that at least we're not going to have a bunch of leaks. Now, having done that, let's go ahead and extend this to there, and like that. Hands. Do I need to? I guess I probably do need to put lines there. For his forearms. Well, once again, a great example of where, having not sketched it out thoroughly, I'm having to sort of think about what I'm doing here. Now, there is one thing I definitely don't like, and I'm going to try to fix it with the liquify tool, but I may just have to redraw it. Okay, I think that's good. B key. Alright, those lines won't show up very much at all since that's going to be painted black. Okay. Close that. Go ahead and seal these off so that they're going to fill reasonably well. And same thing up here, just little fix-ups. Actually, we don't want to switch to pencil. We want to switch to eraser. Boom. Okay. Just thinking. Hands, I'm going to go ahead and insert a key here. And then we'll go ahead and, as I said, I'm gonna do this one first. Zuko's over there saying, "Oh, come on." He's imitating the late great Donio. Okay, that works fine. So let's go back here. And what I am thinking right now is that I may try this 2 ways. And obviously there's going to be some spots on the bottom that have to be fixed up in terms of closing. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's okay. What I was going to say is I like this hand better than this hand, and I was thinking maybe I'll go ahead and just do a mirrored copy of this one over here. But actually I think it's okay. We'll leave it at that for the moment. And just to get it out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and do the sword right now. So insert a key, B key, boom. Actually, you know what? Let's go to the sword layer, Control Shift Insert, so that we're going to be able to see the keys. Yeah, okay. So actually what I want to do, I think, yeah, I want to actually do the sword here first. Because obviously if I don't, I'm going to have to redraw the bottom of it because it's going to run off the screen. Whereas if I run this in reverse, boom, boom, boom. If I run it in reverse, and again, this is a really good example of where I could probably save myself a lot of time by doing the paint here in behind mode all on one layer and then just move the whole thing. Let's do that. What the heck? We'll get rid of that. Okay, so now we want to solo this layer, and let's just go here and do a whoops, sorry, my bad. Want to be in behind mode. Okay, and then what I want to do is, actually, you know what? Let's rethink that for a minute. I want to take a fairly light color, and I am in behind mode. There we go. We'll fill that. That's a little too extreme. Sample that color and then just lower it a little bit. Yeah, it's better. Okay, and then I think let's do a multiply with the pencil. Just to add some character to our sword. I knew a guy once who I was working in a recording studio, engineering this guy's album. Back in the day, you had these crazy things called albums that people did when they were music people, and he had a line in a song with the word sword in it, and he actually sang it as sword. I'm like, dude, it's spelled sword, but it's not pronounced sword. It's pronounced sword. And fortunately, he respected my input and did in fact change it so that the song said the word sword, not sword. Okay, so now we have a problem. Look at at that. How the heck did that happen? Okay, let's move that to there and this to here, and let's just redo both of these. I'm gonna say, oh, I see what's going on. Stupid Krita. Okay, Shift S. Yes, I hate this. Not ranting, by the way, but yeah, the snapping. I'm sure there's plenty of situations where it's useful, but not too much. And now I'm going to turn on the onion skin so I can see the last one and at least kind of get it a little bit smooth. Cool beans. And then we'll turn the onion skins back up. I pretty much, it seems like lately the only time I use the onion skins is when I'm taking something that literally doesn't change shape at all, that has to move only a little bit, and I've got to fine-tune the tweening position between, you know, from here to there. And onion skins are great for that. But as far as organic animation drawing stuff, I have no use for onion skins, I must say. Okay, so we got the hands dialed. We'll have to tune them up later. But okay, so now one wonders, can we take the decidedly risky gambit of not working in reverse? I'm actually kind of regretting using the smoothing through here, but that's okay. That is the let's run with this. That's the last. Oh, come on. Come on. That is the last frame. So in other words, this is the pose he's going to settle on. So if it's a little more refined, that's probably a good thing. Right? However, okay. The other problem with working in reverse, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to save myself some headaches here. Here's a great little technique. Let me see here. The Ninja One sketch and the ink. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this down here. Put this here, and this here. There, I've solved my problem. Now I can run my ink forward instead of in reverse, and then I'll just copy the keys over to the ink layer. See, I'm not as dumb as I look on Wednesdays. Okay, and so here I'm going to insert each key. So I'm forced to draw these guys from scratch, right? Okay, what I was saying is problematic is that working in reverse, my hotkeys that go from the next to the last keyframe, I'm constantly having to think about doing it in reverse. And I don't really want to have to do that, so interesting. You can totally see where the you hit Control F. Yeah, I'm going to want to apply some unsharp masking to this whole layer no matter what. Because that final frame is a little bit overly sharp, actually. Okay. Boom, boom. Okay, that didn't quite work, did it? Okay, I want to zoom out a little bit. Yeah. Okay, I'll put the smoothing on for this part. Because, well, I want it to be smooth. Duh. This is the part that's actually fun. Just toggling back and forth and finding the character and finding the motion. That'll work. Whoops. Hit the wrong hotkey. Okay, that's really an error. The overall arc of motion is down, not up. Well, it's a little frenetic. Down, up again. So, yeah, it's kind of a middle ground. Probably the best answer is to not change it too much. Okay, we'll see if that worked. Got a little itchy on my eye. Okay, so I'm turning the smoothing back on. Okay, that was dumb. I, again, just hit the wrong... I should save my work. Hit the wrong hotkey. Okay, let's flip this around. We'll tighten up the edges here shortly. Okay. Like so. Okay, flip that again. And now, this is going to be the part that's going to be really interestingly challenging. I think I did okay. I think I did okay. So let's look at this progression. Okay, we're gonna ignore the hands at this point. Because once these keys are back where they belong, meaning here and here, you see that the hands do move quite perfectly. Okay, well maybe not perfectly, but they move pretty well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, since I've got the smoothing on, I'm going to go ahead and get try to get the skulls just done right here, all in one fell swoop. Nope. You gotta do it with your whole arm. It's really a interesting challenge. Okay, because we actually have a fairly large change here, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure his ponytail sort of disappears a little more than it did in the sketch. Okay, and boom. Boom. Okay, that's not too bad. Now I'm going to flip the canvas. I think that's going to be okay. Flip it back. Okay. I'm going to leave the smoothing on for his ears and for his neck. And then the question is, am I going to leave it on for this stuff? I think so. Yep. And then I'll connect them up here in a moment. Okay, turning smoothing off, switching to the eraser. We'll just go ahead and fixie. Okay. Now back to the preferred technique of toggling. I'm going to take a little risk here, do this quickly and see if, that didn't work. See if I can sort of capture it. That one's not right. I mean, obviously. It's faster just to completely redraw it than to try to fix it. Which actually kind of summarizes a lot of what I've been saying today. It really is usually faster to just redraw stuff than to try to fix it or use the computer's tools ostensibly to save yourself work. It seems like it always winds up actually being more work. Okay, so here what I'm interested in is really just capturing the character of his eye expressions. And then the continuity, the key to the continuity has to do with the direction that he's looking, I would say. Oh, that might have been slightly too high. Okay, so here we got the perimeter up there, perimeter up there. Okay, slight indication of his ear, I suppose. Here, maybe? Yeah, that's fine. And then here, a little bit more to where we actually can start to see the... Oh, you know, I don't actually know what those pieces of one's ear are called in terms of anatomy. Okay. Here we're going to go boom, boom. Okay, yeah, so it goes from sort of concave to convex. I like that. Okay, concave, straight, more convex. Straight, straight, straight. This one's staying pretty straight. We'll just leave that as it is. Okay. So we're seeing a little bit of a flash in the eyes. Okay, that worked, I think. Okay, here. Okay, yeah, okay, stop. I want to make sure I get this. Boom. So you notice that the brush is not tracking that well. I've been noticing this lately. I don't know if I'm getting some degradation in my stylus performance, and if that's going to have to be addressed, just not quite sure. It could be the Krita brush that I'm using. Okay, now we got this. Let's say his neckline needs to start sneaking out. Yeah, that's okay. So we got 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. That worked. Okay, boom. We're going from, this is really not changing position too much. Okay, that was silly. Little bit. Okay, so now I don't know if I changed these at all, so I'm going to take these and go ahead and recopy them over here. Boom, boom, boom. And then let's just kind of see how she plays. Grrr. I actually like the way he flips back. But okay, that's an hour, so I'm going to stop there. We've got plenty of work to do. We're going to have to finish inking and painting her, inking and painting him, and then we'll cut him into the show. And as you guys know,